What's up and welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome into A Bettor Morning right here on the Bettor Sports Network. A Bettor Morning presented by Rival Fantasy, the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. I'm your host, Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. And I'm going to take a little time to get you started, get your sports day and your juices rolling on this good Thursday morning. Hope everybody is safe from the hurricanes and tropical storm that took place over the course of the past 24 hours. Coming up on the program today, got a big-time top 10 college football matchup taking place on Sunday night between the LSU Tigers and the Florida State Seminoles. Get into that action right there. John Calipari had some comments on the transfer portal. If we have some time, we'll get into that as well. But all week, I have been talking about quarterback situations in the NFL as we prepare to go into the 2023 campaign. Because when it comes to professional football, no one position is more important than the quarterback. The quarterback position can make or break a season. It can make or break a coaching staff. It can make or break a GM. It essentially can make or break an entire fan base. So I gave you yesterday who I thought were the elite quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Those are the elite quarterbacks. We talked about the guys that'll be X factors this year. Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, those type of quarterbacks. And then we talked about some of the poor quarterback rooms with guys like Kyler Murray and Ryan Tannehill and so on and so forth. But there is an elephant in the quarterback conversation. There is a guy that really nobody is talking about out loud, but he's in the back of everybody's minds. Because when you get a chance to bring in a generational talent, it can change your franchise. Look at the situation going on right now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Everybody is optimistic about the Jaguars this upcoming season. You look at the situation in Carolina, there's optimism because they feel as if they got their guy. As a matter of fact, you look at Philadelphia, optimism. They got their guy. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati, optimism. Their guy's already taken them to 2 AFC championship games. So that quarterback is a big-time difference maker. And that's why this year we are going to see a tank job like no other to acquire the services of the University of Southern California's quarterback, Caleb Williams, or as I like to refer to him, QB1. And the reason why I refer to him as QB1, I actually ran into the young man his senior year in high school in the Washington, D.C. area. My son said, "Hey, Dad, that's that guy that played quarterback for Gonzaga," right? So when I seen him pull off, the license plate on his truck said QB1. And then when I got to see his game at Oklahoma and then the University of Southern California, I was like, you know what? Son is QB1. He's already won the Heisman Trophy, right? There's a good shot that he can be the first player since Archie Griffin to win 2 Heisman trophies. This ain't Tim Tebow. This is more like Pat Mahomes. This is a guy that can flat out get it done. QB1 for a reason. Now, the tank jobs are going to be epic. So when you look around the NFL, obviously the first team that would come to mind is the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, they got the mayor of Munchkinland and Kyler Murray out there, but you know they wouldn't mind getting big bad Caleb Williams on that team. As a matter of fact, they're going with Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune. They're already playing their hand. They're showing you what they're going to do. They're going to be in the mix to try to make it to the bottom of the pack so they can get a franchise quarterback because they don't have one in Kyler Murray. You look at a team, for example, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had their run with Tom Brady. They won a championship. Now the bill is coming due. And when the bill comes due, that's why you got to put a guy like Baker Mayfield in your lineup. I told you, Baker Mayfield is somewhere between quarterback 29 and quarterback 34. Caleb Williams is QB1. So they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be in this year's tankathon, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can look at a team like the Minnesota Vikings, quarterback on a 1-year deal, won 11-0 in one-score games last year. That regresses. They could be a team that closes up shop. They already got rid of Dalvin Cook. Adam Thielen's gone. They got rid of some more pieces as well. They look like they could be heading down a path of tanking. Now, Every single team in the National Football League, depending on who got the number one pick, well, maybe not guys like the Chiefs and all of that, teams you don't expect to get that pick, would have a conversation depending on who their quarterback was. Let's say something happened in Dallas and the whole thing falls apart and the Cowboys get the first pick of the draft. Jerry Jones is going to be eating dead money because Dak Prescott going to be on somebody else's team. That's how good a talent this is. But buyer beware, because I think in today's era of college football, when you have players getting NIL deals that's similar to NFL contracts, Caleb Williams has already alluded to the fact that, hey, maybe I'll come back and play at USC for another year. Now, people see that, they say, oh, well, that's NIL money. He can come back, Southern California, this, that, and the third. That's not what he's doing. You know what he's doing? He's laying the foundation. He's telling you right now that if you want to be the team that employs Caleb Williams, QB1, your ducks got to be in a row. Because I think this could be an Eli Manning situation. And for those of you who don't remember, the San Diego Chargers at the time had the number one pick and was going to draft Eli Manning. Papa Archie stepped in and said, no. My son's not going to San Diego. My son's not going to be out there with a poverty franchise. And when you think of that, it makes it extremely interesting. Because what if Williams and his people say, you know what? I'm going back to school. I'm not going to play for the Arizona Cardinals. I can see Caleb Williams doing exactly that. I can see Williams being the guy saying, you know what? I'm going to test this system just like Eli Manning did. I don't want to play in Arizona. I don't want to play in Minnesota. I don't want to play in Tampa. What if Caleb Williams' dream doesn't look like the Arizona Cardinals? Kobe Bryant's dream didn't look like the Charlotte Hornets. Kobe Bryant dreamed looked like the Los Angeles Lakers. What if Caleb Williams' dream looks like a legacy franchise? What if the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love don't work out? This is a team that has 3 decades of great quarterback play. What if he decides, you know what? I'm going to force my way to the legacy franchise. What if he wants to play on the coast? Obviously, the Jets have their quarterback in place right now in Aaron Rodgers. What if the Giants say, you know what? We gave Daniel Jones that money, but we got a shot to get QB1. What if, and just what if he says, you know what? I want to stay in Southern California and play for Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. But they don't have the first pick in the draft. But I'm going to do an NBA thing and force myself to the team I want to go to. Because you see, I can 100% see Caleb Williams pulling a trick like this. And you know what? I don't think the NFL will have a problem with it. Because if you're Roger Goodell, where do you want QB1? You want him out there in Tampa in the NFC South? Yeah, Tom Brady went there and they won a championship. The head coach is Todd Bowles. Do you want Caleb Williams in Arizona? You see how they ran that franchise into the ground, giving Kyler Murray that money? Do you want Caleb Williams hiding in Arizona? Small market team? Or do you want Caleb Williams in Los Angeles? The NFL has always said they got an LA problem. Yeah, they got 2 teams in Los Angeles now, but do anybody care about the Chargers? They got a top quarterback in Justin Herbert. He can't get out the first round of the playoffs. We know Sean McVay can take teams deep. We know Sean McVay is an offensive guru. What if the LA Rams and Caleb Williams be like, listen, this is a match made in heaven. Movie star, Caleb Williams, playing for the LA Rams, saving the NFL's reputation in Los Angeles. I can 100% see it happening. So yes, QB1 is the QB elephant in the room because he's the guy that actually has the power to shake up the entire system. Because everybody, we can just go through the teams right now. The Commanders would take him 1. The Giants would take him 1. The Cowboys would take him 1. The Eagles got their guy. The Packers would take him. The Lions would take him. If the Bears, who won 3 games last year, get the first pick of the draft, see you, Justin Fields. The Vikings would take him. The Saints would take him. The Bucks would take him. The Falcons would take him. Carolina may give their guy a little bit more of a shot. Arizona clearly would take him. Hell, Seattle would take him. The 49ers would take the whole NFC, besides the Philadelphia Eagles, would be in on this guy. The NFC is weak in quarterbacks anyway. You don't want Caleb Williams in Denver making another AFC powerhouse. I know Sean Payton would like that, though, because I tell you he don't want Russell Wilson there. Maybe Denver's a team looking to go on a tank job. Sean Payton pull the plug. Russell Wilson, you a bum. Sit on the bench. I'm going to go get Caleb Williams. QB1 is the quarterback elephant in the room. And your favorite team, you may think you got your franchise quarterback. You may think you're in a good position. And then, boom, Caleb Williams pulls a fast one and all hell breaks loose. And I guarantee you Roger Goodell and the NFL would be cool with it. Now, chaos could break loose this weekend at your fantasy football draft. But you want to make sure that doesn't happen. So how do you do that? You start a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and Cheat Sheet for free. Start a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and Cheat Sheet for free. Now, got a big weekend of college football coming up this weekend. We're past week 0. We're into week 1. Talked earlier this week about the big showdown on Saturday night, the border war between Carolina and Carolina. Big game this weekend. Got a couple other big games on the slate tonight. You get Utah and Florida running it back from their opener last year where Anthony Richardson won the game. Now Anthony Richardson, Indianapolis Colt. But the best game of the weekend is a top 10 battle in Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida, between the LSU Tigers and the Florida State Seminoles. Top 10 battle. Heisman Trophy contender quarterbacks on each of the teams. This is going to be one of the best early season college football games. It's a lot of great games on the slate this year. Like you can see this type of top 10 battle again when LSU and Alabama play. You can see it with Notre Dame and Ohio State. You can see it with Notre Dame and USC. But right now we got one to kick it off. LSU comes into the game as a 2.5-point favorite. The total is 56.5 on this one. This game is about quarterbacks, and it's about the trenches. On LSU side, Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy candidate, quarterback. On Florida State side, Jordan Travis, Heisman Trophy candidate, quarterback. The winner of this game will have an inside track at the college football playoff. This is as big as it gets to kick off the season. Now, right now at the sports books, there's heavy betting on the LSU Tigers. Numbers still opened up 2.5. Numbers still sitting at 2.5. If this number does not move to 3, I'm going to find that very interesting because right now everybody's on LSU. And I'll be honest with you, the sharp betting public likes LSU in this game, and they like LSU to win the national championship this year. That number for LSU to win the Natty opened up at plus 18 to 1, at 18 to 1, excuse me. That number is down to 9 to 1 at some shops, almost cut in half. Florida State is actually the favorite going into the season to be the ACC champion this year. So these are teams that expect to be playing deep into January in that college football playoff, but this is how they get it started today. Now, the good thing about Florida State is they are the #1 school this year for returning production. They're bringing almost their whole squad back from a team that played very well last year. They had some hiccups in the middle of their schedule, but for the most part, they got the win in week 1 over LSU. They lost 3 ACC games back to back to back. Now, the passing attack from Florida State versus LSU secondary is going to be critical. This is where you see what you were able to do in the transfer portal. Florida State, they went and got Michigan State wide receiver Keon Coleman. He is the real deal. They also got Johnny Wilson. They're going up against the LSU secondary who brought some group of 5 transfer portal guys into their program. If Keon Coleman is running through in the LSU secondary all night, it's going to be a long night for Go Tigers. On the other side of the football, on LSU side, they can take over on the ground game by running the football. Now, LSU does not feature explosive plays in their passing game. Hopefully, Malik Neighbors can help get that done. But what LSU can do is control the clock, run the football, and take over the game that way. So really, it's a matter of styles make the fight. Florida State's high-flying offense, LSU's ground and pound attack. In this game last year, LSU got off to a poor start. In the second half, they came back and won. It was Jaden Daniels' first game with LSU. It was the first game. It was Brian Kelly's first time coaching at LSU. Now, they did make that a game, and it came down to a kick at the end. Florida State got the 1-point win. The key to this game is going to be in the trenches. And I think the best in the trench unit is the LSU offensive line. You see, that line was not good last year. That line is much improved this year. LSU should be able to run the football, control the clock, and play enough defense to give Jaden Daniels a chance to win it in the end. If I'm betting this game on the point spread, I'm taking the 2.5 with Florida State. But I'm also taking LSU on the money line. I think LSU wins the game. But I think it's a 1-point game, around the same score as last year, something around 24-23, somewhere in that range. But what I will tell you is this. Sharp money is hitting the under. You know how my boy Lenny Melnick used to say, etch that in your kitchen table? Sharp money is hitting the under. Etch that in your kitchen table. 56.5 right now is the total. Bet the under. Sharp money hitting the under. Only way I really see it going over is if the game goes to overtime. I think it's a methodical, slow-paced game which favors LSU. So I'm going to give them the nod in this major battle of top 10 teams to start the season. Now, whoever wins this game, whoever loses this game, doesn't really mean, it's a good step, but Florida State can still go on and be a one-loss ACC champion. LSU loses, they still can go on and be a one-loss SEC champion. LSU is trying to get to LSU is trying to get to Atlanta in December. Florida State is trying to get up the road in Charlotte for the championship games. There's going to be some pits and landmines in between, but the winner of this one is set up pretty good. The loser is not set up that bad. But if it comes down to a situation where we're trying to figure out the last team to make the college football playoff, this game could end up coming back to haunt the loser in that scenario, and likely that scenario only. That's a big-time matchup. Once again, under 56.5 is the sharp money. And I would take LSU on the money line. Maybe you want to parlay those LSU and under 56.5. Everybody go and have their fantasy football draft this weekend. I want you to enjoy yourself and have a good time and get that free 7-day trial from Fantasy Alarm. Print out that cheat sheet. Go to Buffalo Wild Wings, hang out with the fellas, drink a couple beers, have a good time, get back home safe, watch some college football, and get ready for the upcoming season. Right quick, let me check my chat right here. Okay, very good. All right, shout out to everybody over at Rival Fantasy for sponsoring this program, A Bettor Morning. They are a spot where you can go and you can play in some fun DFS contests. Rival Fantasy, the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Now, before we get up out of here for the day, I want to talk about my man John Calipari, Coach Cal. Shout out to my man Coach Cal, Mr. One and Done. Over the offseason, when, after the NBA Finals and it was like no sports on TV, I watched that One and Done 30 for 30. This guy is so well liked, right? What I like the most about John Calipari is he never tried to, how college football coaches hide their shenanigans? John Calipari is right out in front. He said, listen, rules allow me to do this, I do it. On ESPN the other day, he made a comment about the transfer portal being like one and done. Now, when John Calipari gets on his high horse to talk about issues in college sports, it kind of go in one ear and out the other. You were Mr. One and Done. You took advantage of the situation. Now situations allow for the transfer portal. Don't complain about people taking advantage of the situation. It is what it is. You had the ball in your court for a long time, and your team has struggled recently, to be honest with you. At one point last year, they were talking about getting rid of Coach Calipari. This year, though, he does come back with what should be the number one team in the nation. Coach Cal will be back in the Final Four this year. Now, he did say something interesting, though, about the transfer portal. He said you're going to have a college sports landscape where you're going to have 18 and 19-year-olds playing against 26 and 27-year-olds. And you know what? He's 100% correct. Because with all of this transferring and kids having more and more time of eligibility, then basically you're going to have what you saw it last year. You saw last year that which teams had players 26 years old. Look at Sam Hartman in Notre Dame. The more you jump in and out this transfer portal, the older the players start getting. Like right now, the quarterback for South Carolina Gamecocks, he's only 22 years old. Been playing college football since before the pandemic. Transfer here, transfer there, transfer there. And Spencer Rattler still has a year eligibility left. At some point, the players are going to start getting too old. So basically, a guy like Rattler, who should have been drafted 2 years ago, can say, okay, I got $7 million in NIL this year. I mean, seven-figure NIL this year. 1 more year, 7-figure NIL. I don't have to go to the NFL now. I can make $3-4 million in college and be good. What sense does this make? Why do we want 26-year-old men playing with 18 and 19-year-olds? Coach Cal is right about that. The discrepancy in the ages of the collegiate athletes is going to be a thing that needs to be looked into over the course of the next couple of years. Now, I want to thank everybody for rocking with us today. Duke got a college football game tonight, big one, Florida and Utah. Right now, Utah is about a 6.5, 7-point favorite. I would lay the number with Utah. Utah is a very tough place to play, particularly at night, particularly in a moment like this where you have a big game, nationally televised to start the season off. You're bringing in a rival from the SEC across the country, the Provost. Yeah, I like Utah to roll tonight. So take that one right there. Good luck in all your fantasy football drafts if you got one tonight. Got plenty of content coming up on the network for the rest of the day. As a matter of fact, coming up next is Sportstopia Fire and Ice at 9:30 a.m. Eastern with Drew Silva and Chris Crawford. Interestingly, a couple of dudes I used to work with at NBC. Anyway, with that being said, it's time for me to say farewell. For the lovely and talented Heather Klein, I'm the fantasy executive, Corey Parson, wishing you a better day.